The other day, I attended an executive advisory board, and there's like 15 CISOs in the room. We talked about identity management, and there's a lot of things I learned from that group. There were companies with 500,000 employees in that room, and we have the same problem. I don't have 500,000. I do have 30,000. Still a lot of problems. This peer-to-peer is so valuable for us because, uh, we can't just rely on vendors to tell us, hey, this is the best things in sliced bread.
Welcome to Audience First, a podcast for tech marketers looking to break out of the echo chamber to better understand their audience and turn them into loyal customers. Every week, Danny Wolf has brutally honest conversations with busy tech buyers about what really motivates them, the things they hate that vendors do, and what you can do about it. Get access to practical information on how to build authentic relationships with your audience. Listen to and talk with your buyers, and apply real customer insights to your strategies and tactics. You owe it to the world to unmute your mic. Are you ready?
Welcome to another episode of Audience First. I have a very special guest today with us, as always, Cecil the CISO. Cecil, how you doing?
Thank you for the introduction, Danny. I'm very glad to be at your audience first episode. So I hope I'll be able to contribute to your program.
I believe you will. We had you over at Dr. Dark Web, so I think given what you've shared there, you'll provide a lot of great insights here. And I'm thrilled to get to know you a little bit more. So, Cecil, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And why the hell do you do it?
Oh, those are loaded questions, Danny. I work at a large healthcare revenue cycle management. For someone asking what is revenue cycle management, from the moment you schedule your hospital visit to collection, that's us. About 30,000 people worldwide. We're spread everywhere. That adds to the complexity for security. I used to be a CISO, the CISO for the Dallas Fort Worth International Airport. Been around a lot of companies, worked at Boeing, CBS Health, GameStop, TXU Energy, and now I'm here at the revenue cycle management company. I also run I don't want to call it an events management company. I call it a CISO community. We call it CISO XC. We had our second event, very well attended, well supported by the CISO community here in Texas. The first one, we got 200 attendees during pandemic. The last one, we almost have over 600. We have another one next month, 2 months from today in December 8th, here in, again, mostly in Dallas. We're hoping to branch out in other cities soon, but right now, Dallas, I still have my primary job, which is taking 120% of my time. So, but yeah.
So, what's your motivation for doing all of this?
Interesting you asked that, Danny, because last week I keynoted the conference and, the first 100 days of CISOs. My first, if you become a CISO, what would be what you should do first for the first 100 days? And there's a couple of my slide deck about why you should not be a CISO. There's so many reasons why you should not be, but there's a lot of other reasons why you should be. It's a lot of work, a lot of challenging times. You wake up in the middle of the night, because you got phone calls, maybe minor or major issues. Maybe sometimes I'm just dreaming about it that, oh, shoot, I thought we had an incident or something. So I enjoy the profession. I enjoy working at my company. I enjoy working for my boss. It's very seldom this is the second time I work for my CIO. He was my CISO 7 years ago, and now he is my CIO. So combination of great team. I'm blessed with a very good team of security leaders. I have a great support system within the company and outside the company. You probably see my pictures on LinkedIn. We bike together. We go out in dinners and lunches. We drink. It is a very rewarding and very, I would call it more, I don't know the right words. English is my second language, Danny. So uh, I don't know the exact adjective or word to describe it, but it is very difficult. But when you have all those things going around you, the support system is awesome. It makes the job easier. and more fun. I think
Empowering.
empowering and
Em-
and the
emp-
most important is we're having fun.
yeah, that's great. I love hearing that. You talked about some really positives there, but I want to know what you hate most about the industry.
Some of it you discuss on your podcast, dealing with
Yeah.
vendors. I could tell you, there's a lot of things. Probably hate is probably is too much word, but there's a lot of things I don't like inside the companies. You politics and drama everywhere. Good, that's given. Dealing with vendors, and I could tell you, sometimes they would call me on my cell phone. That's probably the most the, that I hate because they'll just call you like all day. A lot of BDRs, SDRs, they would call. Emails is fine. And sometimes I feel like that they think that I don't know what I'm doing, you know,
Mm.
presenting me with a lot of this, hey, Cecil, we can, are you aware of this? I think in general, it's really challenging because, you can't even blame them. They have a job. And on, on the challenge on doing my job, securing my environment, of course, threats and dangers are always there. I can complain all day, but they will always come. So, yeah, there's a lot of things, Danny. But yeah, even with all the things, all the negative things, I still enjoy it.
Before we hopped on this call, you started telling me
Yeah.
about some of the challenges you're dealing with right now within the healthcare industry. And I want to drill down into that a little bit. As a CISO in your current role, what is your one bleeding neck challenge?
Probably. I think not just me, but most healthcare CISOs we deal with PHI every day. And I think the amount of information we collect, we store, we process, even though we encrypt them, it's really still too much. It's very challenging when you have volumes and volumes of data, logs, and then you got, I have a big team, but it's still not enough. We have tools that we can rely for automation, but just the speed of business is too fast for security today.
So, given that challenge, what's the ultimate goal you're trying to achieve within the organization?
Like most CISOs, I think our goal is to be able to, it's so easy to say, protect our environment, be more resilient. But I think, in a today's, it's so hard to secure your environment. I think for most of us, at least for me, I want to make sure that we do our best to make sure that we could operate effectively. We could protect our data. When things happen, we could respond quickly. Many of us struggle because we trying to do everything. I think the key for us is to be able to, what can we do, with the limitation of tools, people, processes. I think the most important for us is to be able to stop the 98% of the attacks that we can stop.
Hmm.
2% is going to be so hard. We have tools that hopefully will catch them, but a lot of teams in my industry, in our industries, in healthcare especially, we are already overworked, more working 8 to 12 hours a day, sometimes 16 hours. And I could not ask for more. They're already, stretched too thin, working too much. So I think for most of us, it's important that you know, we address the most common issues that we can block today and slowly improve. We cannot be 100%, but I think if we could push it to 99 point something, we'll do that.
Take me back to the day when you decided to evaluate a tool or a solution to, handle PHI or deal with the speed of the market within your team, right? You talked about processes and automation and all that kind of stuff. Tell me what happened.
We look at problems in a variety of ways. Most people think a tool will solve the problem. And I think it's important for a CISO and for a lot of security leaders today to keep up with the speed of business. We gotta make sure that we get this blueprint, if you can call it. We gotta have the right process, the right understanding of what we're trying to solve, the right solution. Those solutions mostly cost a lot of money, and we don't have a unlimited bank account. We want to make sure that we find a solution that fits our budget, that is at least addressing, the most critical risks we have. We look outside our group. There's a lot of resources outside. Danny, you and Chris Roberts podcast, some of the content that you put out there are very helpful for my job. They help me evaluate things. They help me identify some solutions that I might not be even aware of. And that's
Hmm.
why I probably, even though I work a lot of hours a day, I make sure that I spend time on LinkedIn, Twitter, and other social media, other platform, because there's a lot of things out there that I'm not aware of. Another great example is I maintain a group of CISO group chats, and there have been very valuable sources of information. The other day, someone posted something that is close to my problem, and I didn't have to post that question. Someone posted it, and you know, a lot of people that work with me think that I know everything, and they didn't realize, I still I don't have all the time in the world to know everything. I rely on peers and people like you to get me some answers to some of the problems we tackle every day.
I love, love, love that you brought up CISO and
Yeah.
the concept and the value. Well, you brought up partially the value of the peer to peer in the community, but I want to double click into that, and we're going to totally go off the talking track now and focus on the community aspect of security. I'd love to know, in your opinion, why is peer to peer so powerful in cybersecurity?
Oh, wait, do we have 3 hours? I don't think we
Okay,
have three.
you have 30 minutes. Go.
No, no, I think that's one of the reasons why we built CISO. XC was actually XCs for exchange. And we wanted to have a platform for us to be able to share, you know, some of the things we do. Maybe 30-40% of the things I'm doing today, Danny, are taken from experiences from other CISOs. The other day, I attended an executive advisory board, and there's like 15 CISOs in the room. We talked about identity management, and there's a lot of things I learned from that group. There were companies with 500,000 employees in that room, and we have the same problem. I don't have 500,000. I do have 30,000. Still a lot of problems. This peer to peer is so valuable for us because uh, we can't just rely on vendors to tell us, "Hey, this is the best things in sliced bread." It's always good to ask for advice. A lot of them, they have this experience. Hey, one particular cloud security tool that we have decided to go with, to purchase is coming from this peer-to-peer group. Someone actually, not even me, someone said, "Hey, what is your experience with this product?" And there's like 7, 8 CISOs back and forth posting their experience. And I said, and this is exactly our experience toward a POC. The POC is so limited. You cannot identify the value and problems in a short 30-day POC. This group of CISOs, they have been running some of these tools for months now. They were not marketing for their product. They were providing, hey, here's the good and the bad. And just imagine the information I gathered there. I would pay for some of those information if there was a service out there. So yeah, it is very valuable, Danny. Everything, from staffing alone. When I need when I need important resources, they know, they are the first people who would send me their recommendations. One CISO, she works for a finance company. She said, "Hey, we're experiencing some reduction in force in the company, and I hate to lose my cloud security architect in the market. Would you?" It's like 3 or 4 CISOs raise their hand. "Hey, I want his resume." So it's very valuable. I could tell you, without that, I won't be lost, but I'll get a lot of the more, a lot of the information I would get from, it would take me weeks or days gather information. There is very quick. Post it, you'll get the answers quickly.
Would you say that face to face is most powerful, or would you also have some kind of hybrid model where it would be virtual Slack,
Yeah,
Zoom meetings?
yeah, we do both. There is really no uh, alternative to face to face. Face to face is very intimate, very, last week I had the dinner with about 14 CISOs last weekend.
Mhm.
We talked about asset management. We talked about some of our, experiences with some of the tools, some process, some of the challenges, some of, success stories. It was very collaborative. The group chats and the Slack and the chats, others are very helpful. But I think I like to meet them at least once or twice, twice a month at least. It's very refreshing. We just don't talk about products and tools. We also talk about, hey, how do you take care of yourself? Many of us are overstressed and
Mhm.
we want to make, you know, and you probably know I take a group of security leaders for a bike ride every Saturday and Sunday. So, we work a lot during Mondays to Fridays and, we try not to talk about cybersecurity during those rides, but, looking back, at least 4 or 5 times during the ride, we'll talk about cybersecurity, even if we
There
try
you
to
go.
avoid talking cybersecurity.
I might have to make my way over to Dallas and be that stalker biker behind you trying to listen in on the juice.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. We do have some non-CISOs in the group, and it's a very diverse. We have people who are engineers, upcoming CISOs who are on the rides, and very enjoyable. And it's
I love
refreshing
that.
sometimes. Yeah, you're not in front of the computer. Or you're on the
Mhm.
trail in nature. Really fun.
I love that approach. Super intimate. You highlighted some use cases. In your opinion, what is the ideal structure of a community peer-to-peer event? How would it look like in your eyes? You unveiled some great methods, bike rides, dinners, but what do you like?
We've been experimenting at CISO XC. I don't really, we're still trying to find what would work best in terms of structure. We've done obviously 3 conferences now. They've been very valuable in terms of learning, in terms of networking. Every conference, mind you, it's just the third conference coming December 8th. We've seen also new faces of CISOs in the Dallas area. But I think the key is like the diversity of activities. We're doing conferences, we're doing dinners, we're doing bike rides, we're constantly trying to think of what would really be interesting. I'll give you an example. Last week, we had a dinner, and of course, it was sponsored by an organization, by a vendor. And I, I I told the sponsor that, hey, just focus 10 minutes about your product, who you are, some of your customers, and let's have a very relaxing evening. And all of us worked tirelessly all day, and go to dinner was very, refreshing. You stayed, I'm here, gonna be here 10 hours today, Danny, at least. And I want to go to a nice dinner and be able to talk to my friends, but I don't want to go listen to another PowerPoint or maybe listen to another sales pitch. So, that dinner was very good for us. But at the same time, I don't want it to look like work. I think that's the key. It should not resemble like you're still working. Yeah. And I don't know. I know a lot of vendors have been doing events like shooting, like booths or bourbon tasting. After COVID, we missed those. In the past 4 months, I think, Danny, at least in the Dallas area, there's at least 4 or 5 events every week. Unfortunately, we can probably attend only one of them at
Mhm.
best. And going back to your question about structure, I don't really know that, what would work best because everyone, some of our friends don't even attend anymore because they're so busy and tired. Many of them work 50 to 60 hours. And I said, sometimes I'll text them, hey, we miss you again at the event. Hey, Cecil, sorry, I didn't realize the CISO job that I just took is much harder than my previous ones. They work hard, and it's find it's hard to find a way for us to how we could have this peer-to-peer conversation where it doesn't interfere with work. That's why the bike rides really work well, but mountain biking is not really for everyone. It's quite dangerous, which is really ironic. We guys are risk averse people, and then we do mountain biking. You know, I'll explain that on another segment why we do it. We have a
Yeah,
we have a talk about it about why our CISOs love mountain biking.
that's hilarious. You
Yeah,
mentioned something interesting though. You said that there are about 4 to 5 events a week and, CISOs only have time for an average of 1. How how do you go about separating, you know, or identifying which ones would be most valuable to you? What is the indicator that for you to go, okay, oh, I should go to this
yeah.
event?
Well, there's another side of the coin there, Danny. The schedule is very important.
Mhm.
Sometimes, there was an event a few weeks ago that I really wanted to go because they're going to talk about cloud security. Unfortunately, it dropped on a Tuesday afternoon, and I couldn't do it. For many of us, we don't have, we will, if it's really a great, great program with a great speaker, a great resource, we'll get out of our way and attend it. But 90% of the time, Danny, we have to look at our own schedule. And many of us have still, younger kids. I'm fortunate my kids are in college now, and all of them are in the dorm. I don't have to worry about, but work, we have too much work. I usually, if it's something that I have to attend, I'll just take a PTO or something. I'll just take a time off. I'll be able to go. But 90% of the time, 90% of the time, I'll just have to find a way for me. If I have a schedule open, for some reason I don't have anything after 5 p.m. and there's a dinner, I'll go try it and attend. Now, those kids, those CISOs with kids, it's so hard. A lot of their activities are after school, like 5 o'clock. So I rarely see some of my friends, young kids. I usually see them on the weekends when we have, hey, we have to go to a mountain bike ride or something. I would be really glad if someone invites me for like uh, maybe a lunch on Saturday or Sunday, and not Sunday, something peer to peer. I won't do that every Saturday, but I think once a month, I'll make time because there's no work. We've done so many lunches at CISO, Danny, and you'll see half of the people are on their phones, either texting, emailing, or on a conference call. I feel bad. That's why we stopped the lunches. We stopped the CISO lunch because I feel bad that they would go and still spend half of the time on their phones.
And that was during the week or
A
also on a
weekday.
Saturday?
Yeah, just a weekdays. None. I
Got you.
don't have not seen an organization schedule something on a weekend. I would love to,
Yeah.
probably, especially if you schedule it like 5 weeks, 6 weeks in advance. People will make time to sit down, not be bothered by work. Not that work is about it's our primary responsibility, but it would be good if there's less distraction. That's why the dinners work well because around 6 o'clock, there's very little, emails coming in that requires responses or meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that insight. That's super, super critical to understand from a behavioral standpoint and convenience for the
Yeah.
specific audience. You mentioned PowerPoints and vendors and the sales pitch. Now, vendors that do invest in these types of events do need to show some kind of tangible ROI from the events as
Yeah.
well. At what point is it okay to bring in that PowerPoint or the value proposition to the event?
Most of my colleagues agree with me on this topic that especially initial meetings, I don't think there's a room for, you know, demos or PowerPoints because I think I heard it from you, Danny. It's all about relationships. It's all about relationship. If you don't have a relationship, the products, the technology is probably 70% of the equation, but you gotta have to build that partnership and relationship with us. And that example, last week at the dinner, I told them, please, no PowerPoint, no demos. Take advantage of this gathering to build a relationship with the CISOs. I think PowerPoints and demos have a time, maybe second or third meeting when you've identified, is there a legitimate need for this solution? Is there a problem that you're trying to solve? The difficulty is many vendors and manufacturers start dishing out white papers and PowerPoints when they don't even know what struggles you have, what are your pain points. So I think it's very important for the vendor community to understand, hey, you gotta do it step by step. Now I understand they have to, you know, many of these vendors spend hundreds or thousands of dollars organizing these gatherings, these dinners, but at the same time, you know, I think they will benefit more if they start building the relationship than doing PowerPoint. So
Yeah, I
PowerPoints have a time.
agree.
I think the second or third meetings, that's a great time, especially if you have some idea about the environment of the target client, the resourcing, the
Hmm.
challenges, the compliance obligations that this organization is facing right now. There's a checklist that you need to do before you do a PowerPoint. So,
You talked about a few of the requirements on that checklist, right? Before even having a pitch, right? What are the
yeah,
requirements on that?
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of pre-work that needs to be done before you can start pitching your product. I believe the first step is always build that relationship. Like that event I mentioned to you last week. The dinner is designed for 3 hours, and I only told them, hey, use 5, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes max. Talk about yourself. Talk about some of your product capabilities. Very shortened version. Some of your customers that you could highlight as a reference customer, and that's it. And the reason for that is I want them to build a relationship with the guest first. I think it's important to build that partnership, build that relationship. As you, Danny, you're a big fan of relationships. I'm a big believer that relationship should be the first step before even throwing out a white paper, a PowerPoint, or a demo. And there's other things you need to understand. You know, even without, you know, even with NDA or not, a lot of these CISOs will not divulge much of their organization to you because they don't know you well. You need to make sure, you know, what's the pain point? Is it even a problem? You have to make sure that you're checking all these boxes first before you start presenting. You want to even start with what type of environment they have. Are they cloud based? Are they Microsoft centric organization? Do they have, you know, they may have a solution already in place. So those are the things I think they had to identify, before even scheduling a demo presentation. I think the second meeting or the third meeting would be the best time to start, doing that. You need to do all this pre-work. I've been a buyer now, Danny, for since 2005. I've been buying solutions and technologies now for a lot of companies. And until now, for some reason, you think people have learned how to sell, and it's 2022 today. And somehow they think these tactics still work with, buyers. I mean, they have to do the pre-work before they could get my attention. I really need to know, but they have to approach it in a proper way because sometimes when your email suggests that, hey, do you know how to prevent a breach? Something like that, or anything that tells you, you we won't even open the email. It has to start somewhere. You have to, you know, what is it that will make me answer a phone call or answer an email or attend an event? There has to be something. And number one for us is really if our schedule allows it, if we have an urgent need for that, if we're trying to solve a problem, we will answer that phone, answer that email, or even attend the session or the dinner or the lunch or the conference.
In order to establish that relationship though, what in your opinion is the starting point or step 1?
I think it's very important to just not even approach it as a vendor or seller. Don't approach it when you meet a person like me or some of my peers here in the Dallas area. I think it's important to how do you say it? There's an art to this. When I became friends with a lot of salespeople, and but there's still a lot of salespeople today that I'm not very close because they started selling me product on the day we met. And I think that's the wrong move. I think the first thing they need to establish is, hey, you know, build that relationship. There's so many ways. There's probably a book out there on how to build a relationship with your buyers, but I think it has to start from building that relationship. I'll give you an example. There's this lady when I used to be a CISO of a large airport here in the Dallas area. I get between 10 to 15 phone calls a day. Good thing at that job, I had an admin assistant to screen all those calls. And for some reason, 98% of these cold callers were, 90% of them, we don't even talk to them again. Or she's always saying, hey, Cecil is busy, send him an email. Those- There's one lady that was able to get through my firewall, my human firewall. And I asked her, hey, how, you've always turned down meetings with me. How were you able to schedule a meeting with her? I don't even know her. Cecil, you know, when I talk to her, she's very nice. There's dozens of salespeople who calls you every day, but this lady is just so nice, very patient, very respectful. And then, one day she just gave me, just a thank you card. I felt bad and I said, I'm gonna reciprocate and schedule a meeting with with her and Cecil. And I said, I'm not mad. I'm happy because I like those salespeople who are respectful of the time and they she did everything. You know, she was very patient. She was nice to my people, to my team and not disrespecting. And I've seen so many salespeople even, hang up and say something. Yeah, I was surprised that they're very disrespectful in some cases. There's one lady who's actually still around. She's been calling relentlessly, like every week. And, of course, hey, if you need a meeting, just email Cecil. And it came to a point, I think on the third or fourth call, that she was not very nice to my team and to everyone. She tried to reach out to me and I had to tell my team not to talk to her anymore. It was really difficult decision, but she was very disrespectful. Everyone is busy, but a lot of my folks don't deserve to be scolded over the phone. I do have
Right.
one juicier story. This happened maybe 7, 8 years ago. We have a solution already in place. We've decided on a solution that we really like based on our technical evaluation, but this competing salesperson was quite upset that we made a different decision. Went to my CISO first, and then went to my CIO. Oh, I then he spoke to all my leadership that Cecil was making the wrong call on this particular product. Oh, he went, he went, he went to talk to my executives that I do not answer my phone, that I made the wrong decision. It was very bad. Just imagine, I don't think my CEO even knows my name. And for this person to go escalate to my CEO was quite surprising. So I still remember, I know him, I still see him around.
All right. Well, we're headed towards the end of the session. Cecil, I want to know before we sign off, is there anything you want to impart on the audience today?
I think we've covered some of those messages. Yeah. But I would say this is really important. We always, so remember, CISOs like us, we meet in the trail, we meet in dinners, we drink. I had just dinner with a CISO on Monday night. We talk about we talk about products, marketing people, sales people. I think it's important that especially people working in the manufacturer vendor side, cybersecurity is you sell a variety of products, but I think most people forget that you sell trust. You sell products that helps us, establish trust, not just for my company, but for us to look into your products. I think it's important that you start there at the relationship level. Your product may be the best thing, maybe at the top quadrant of the Gartner or Forrester, or but at the same time, if we don't feel good about doing business with your company, it's not, you gotta be able to start there. Build the relationship with the CISO. It doesn't have to be the CEO of your company. It doesn't have to be the CTO. It could be a business development person, as a salesperson within your team. I think it's important to build a relation. You always look at the long term. I know it's so easy for me to say I know a lot of salespeople. Your shelf life is so short because of the quotas, but I think you always look at the long term. And now the perfect example for you is there's this person that I work with today. This salesperson was handling my account many years ago. I never bought anything from him, not because I don't trust him, but I don't trust, not that I don't trust the products he sells, but it's really because I didn't have the opportunity to buy from him. But he stuck around. We have developed a great friendship and relationship over 6 years, I think now. Never bought from him. But now I
Hmm.
said, now he works for a company that I believe I really need their products. And guess what? He didn't have to, I actually called him. He didn't call me. I called him.
Hmm.
Hey, I am so glad you work for the company because I think I need you. So I think you kind of look at this in the long term. Short term is, you know, I know it's so easy for me because you got to go to this quarter this year. But I think it's important that you establish that before you even do your first sales pitch. Hopefully that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, and I so appreciate the brutally honest feedback. This has been a great session. You are always welcome to the show, by the way.
Yeah. Oh well, invite me. I'll be there every time.
Well, hopefully we'll have to do something in person at one
Yeah.
point once we
Yeah.
get.
If you can go here on December 8th, we'll do our own session in person.
Oh my goodness. I might have to take you up on that offer.
Yeah.
It's super compelling.
Chris is gonna be here. There's a lot of people who will be here. So try to go.
I appreciate it. Cecil, well, this has been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining once again.
Yeah, I would love to be here, and we'll do it again if you ask me again.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Audience First. If you like what you've heard, feel free to follow or subscribe to Audience First on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast streamers.